Welcome to South by Southwest Comedy. This is Matt Besser from Improv for Humans podcast. Please tell your phone to shut up right now and tell it no recording either. Yeah. Tag your post from the fest with hashtag SXSW Comedy. And there's shows all week, so be sure to check out sxsw.com/comedy for the schedule.
Hello. How y'all doing? You heard all that excitement in my voice. Y'all can do better than that. I said, how y'all doing? Thank y'all so much for coming out. I want to introduce our moderator, Peabody Award-winning producer of Portlandia. Humans, clap for Dan Pasternak!
Thank you so much. Hi, everybody. How are we? It's pretty good. They're good. Well, I'm not going to waste a lot of time because we have an unbelievable array of people to come and talk to you guys about comedy. Are you guys comedy fans? Yeah. Well, we have four of the smartest, funniest, best comedy humans I know. I'm going to begin with the young lady who just introduced me. I want to make sure I get the credits right that she wanted me to share with you. Well, you know her obviously as a correspondent from The Daily Show, but she's also a featured voice on The Great North on Fox. Please welcome my friend Dulce Sloan. Next, a gentleman I've known for quite a long time. I think you've known him for quite a long time. One of the most prolific comedians in the business. His most recent Netflix special, The Comedy Monster, and he's here for the premiere of his new film, Linoleum, that is premiering tomorrow night here at South by Southwest. Please welcome my friend, Mr. Jim Gaffigan. Now joining us, a young man that I've just met recently, and I'm already a huge fan. You saw him in the Judd Apatow film, King of Staten Island, his recent HBO special, Here's Everything, and he's here for the premiere of his film, I Love My Dad. Please welcome Ricky Velez. And last, but certainly not least, I could give you a long list of credits, but I'm going to tell you guys a story. In 1980, I was 11 years old, and I went to the Hollywood Bowl to see Monty Python perform live. I'm getting goosebumps just to tell you guys this story. I had a seat in a box that was closest to the stairs. Down these stone steps came this next gentleman wearing a bra, fishnet stockings and heels, and screaming, "Albatross! Albatross!" And I wanted to touch him. I just wanted to reach out and touch him because I thought, I am never going to get the opportunity to touch John Cleese, this mad genius. And my friend I was there with was like, "Don't touch him. Stop it. No, don't touch him." I didn't. I have since had a number of opportunities to sit and talk to him, and yes, even touch him. I cannot believe I get to say these two words, John Cleese.
You touch me later. In fact, if you're really good...
They want you here, Jim.
Oh, okay. If you're really good, I'll let you touch the hem of my garment.
And I will be grateful for
You'll
it.
realize the significance of my initials.
JC, yes.
What happened to my microphone? No, I'm not staying. They want
Kid, you gotta be in the business a little longer to get a microphone. These young whippersnappers think they're entitled to a goddamn microphone.
Once again, Texas silences the Hispanic.
You only half, you fine. And Texas don't know what a Puerto Rican is. You'll be all right.
Wait, if he's only half, then they'll only silence every other word?
Listen, like I said, he's just a white man here. They don't know what the fuck to do with him.
I am
That's the
so
trouble with
sick of white
Hispanics,
men.
You know, the trouble with Hispanics is they think they're the lowest of the low. You don't know about the Welsh, do you?
We don't have those problems here, sir.
By the way, I just noticed that we have someone signing for the hearing impaired.
Why is she in the dark?
Maybe they're visually impaired too, I don't know.
They got me with no mic and this chick sitting in the dark wearing black.
Good. Glad she got white hands.
So,
Oh, I'm so excited she has to sign that.
we're already off and running. By the way, this brings me to my first point because we have such a breadth of experience, age, geography, everything you can imagine, and yet the thing that I've always felt when you get together with a group of comics is that everybody does speak the same language. Everybody speaks the language of comedy.
In English.
So I want to just get a little bit of perspective just so that these guys... I'm letting it go. I'm letting it go. So that these guys have a sense of how much breadth is represented here. So John, let's start with you. First of all, so you're born before World War II.
No, I was born in the first month of World War II.
Wow, okay.
I think it was September. I was born in October. And there was a period, nobody knows this because nobody knows any history, but there was a strange period after we declared war. France and England declared war. You did later, didn't you?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, we
I think
we
it
came,
took
we
you
came
about,
a little later.
It took you about 2 years to realize that Hitler was not a nice guy, did it? And that
We're a little
was
slow that way. We are.
almost immediately after Pearl Harbor, by coincidence.
Well, that made it personal.
Anyway, there was a period immediately after war was declared when there was no fighting because nobody was ready to fight. Quite seriously, you know, they hadn't got their armaments together. And so that period was known as the phony war because there was no fighting. So Eric Idle says, I'm a phony war baby.
Now, talk about your parents, because you said that both of your parents were funny.
Ricky, would you like to talk about my parents?
Your parents? What were they born before?
The 1900s.
But my father had a nice dry sense of humor. We were watching a particularly inane dance routine once, and he said to me, I don't think this will ever replace entertainment, do you? And it was very dry. But Mother, on the other hand, had a very dark sense of humor. It was the only way I could get to her, because she was quite a depressed woman. But one time, she used to ring me up and tell me, really, all the reasons she didn't want to go on living, you know? And they were good reasons, too. She died eventually at the age of 101. Yeah. But one day she was telling me all the reasons she do, and I just had a moment of inspiration. I said, Mum, I just had an idea. And she said, oh, what is that? And I said, well, I know a little man who lives in Fulham, down in southwest London, and if you're still feeling this way next week, I could give him a call if you like, but only if you like, and he could come down to the retirement home and kill you.
And how did she take to that?
Well, there was a startled silence. And then she cackled with laughter. She really did. And from then on, if she got a bit depressed, I'd say to her, you know, shall I call the little man in Fulham? And she'd say, oh, no, I've got a sherry party this Friday. I don't.
So how much do you feel that your sense of humor came from your parents?
Quite a lot, yeah. Quite a lot. Also, I think it came because I was very tall and gangly. I was 6'4" when I was 14.
Wow.
And I got bullied a little bit. And I think, you know, if you make people laugh, then they accept you. What are you laughing at? Whites do get bullied, you know. Don't have a monopoly on bullying.
I'm glad to know it happens outside America, but we're so good at so many things. But you said 6'4" and bullied, and Ricky's face went, okay.
But that's what made it so pathetic, you see.
You just step on them. That's it. You just step and just
I
mush them
didn't
like a
weigh
meat
enough
pie.
to step on them. I didn't weigh enough. That was the trouble.
Oh.
Oh, dear. Yes, I think the sense of humor in England at that time was very, very strong. And we were kind of proud of the sense of humor. And I think one of the things was the English find it quite difficult to be direct and at all emotional, you know? So they use irony a lot because that's a distancing mechanism. Do you see what I mean? So you say the opposite of what you mean most of the time.
Because it comes from repression.
Yes, I think it's yeah. And for example, if you're very, very fond of someone, you can be very rude to them. Because obviously you wouldn't be being rude to them if you weren't very fond of them. Otherwise it would be rude.
All the rude people appreciate that.
So that was one of the first thing I noticed, is that if you want to be very express your affection to somebody in England, you're very rude to them.
So now, Jim, speaking of being rude, you have said, and I'm curious to hear the way you break this down, that you said you were only the third funniest person in your family.
Yeah. No.
Who had the top two slots?
I'm one of four brothers, and my two of my older brothers were definitely the funniest. But I always say I have more specials than them. But no, they were funny, but they didn't have the guts to go for it. So.
No, but you are one of six children,
One
right?
of six.
So, and the baby, right?
The baby.
So was fighting for that attention help you sort of cultivate your sense of humor?
I think so, but I think also, I think, you know, hearing, now I'm comparing myself to John Cleese. Hearing my friend John Cleese talk about, no, but I feel like I'm a combination of my brother's sense of humor. So one of my brothers was super silly. One of them was very kind of observational, and one was very dark, very, like, said the most inappropriate thing. So I feel like there's a combination of all that.
So
I
you
stole from my
synthesized all
family.
of that.
Yeah.
And then how much of it was forged because you grew up Catholic?
I don't think it's the cat. I think, you know, it's talking about being bullied for being tall. I was kind of bullied for being super pale. How about that?
Again, Ricky is not taking the bullying.
Yo, these guys have complained about being white and tall today. This is some bullshit. Austin, feel bad for me, victim fucking talk I'm not into.
By the way,
There's
I don't
some
want
bullshit.
anyone. By the way, I just want everyone to know that Ricky's dad works for Citicorp, and his last name is Valdez.
I don't know what my dad does.
Now, in their defense, they've come from homogenous places. England, white. Wherever you're from, white.
It's called Whiteland.
The name is trash. So,
All right, so Dulce, talk about then how your humor was forged because of your origin story.
oh, shit.
Well, you piped up.
I thought the white man was still talking. Mr. Gaffigan, your Catholicism.
No, I
Go.
think there
You were
is.
saying he got bullied 'cause he was pale,
I think
and
that.
then-
All right, here's what I think. I mean, I don't know if this applies to John. I think that all these comedians have a unique identity thing, and so yes, to Ricky's point, it's like growing up an oddball in a white trash kind of area doesn't seem hard, but we're sensitive souls. And so, like, there is something, even, so, like, all the identity, I think comedians, it's all a charade of identity. It's not, like, it's a constant identity crisis. It's like, we're all looking for an adjective. I mean, mostly we're looking for the adjective funny. But I think that, like, I'm trying to get rid of pale. You're probably trying to get rid of tall. Ricky's trying to get rid of suburban.
Pick me!
I'm not that dumb.
Yeah, go for it. Come on. Let's see how edgy you're trying to get.
Dulce just wants to get Gaffigan out on the ledge.
He's such a nice man. I love saying hot pockets to myself.
So here's something, I'll get you rolling here. 3 of you, I know, are part of the New York comedy scene. Only one of you is a native New Yorker. Jim has been in New York for 30 years. Before we hear Ricky's origin story in New York, would you like to voice your journey and your opinion of your adopted city?
Well, like I said on my special, mine's only a half hour, so I got nothing on him. I was forced to move to New York because of success. So, because I never wanted to live there, because it should be burned down immediately. But it doesn't need you. New
I
York's
wasn't expecting that in Austin.
Yo, I was doing so well, they got me a mic.
Hey!
You earned that mic, Ricky.
Yeah.
You earned that
Halfway
mic.
through the
Look
pedal.
at how embarrassing that green cord, though.
I definitely It's reparations.
We
Ricky,
need
look.
to get the guy a mic. I've got this green cord.
We've established you can be bullied for just about anything
All
at this
right,
point.
back to
Yes.
you not liking New York because it's different.
Different. It's not fucking different. It's a city that's trying to kill you on a regular basis. But also, what I think is so fun, what's so funny about it to me, is that people. I didn't realize that when I got on TV saying that this place was trash, that so many people would get offended by it. But what? Because like, if someone says to me that they don't like Atlanta, I don't care. Like if you tell people
I'm the same way about, so I'm from LA.
Right.
People say they don't like LA. I'm like,
I
go
don't give
home.
it. I don't care.
Go home.
But
It's full.
like,
Go
if
home.
you tell people from New York that you don't like New York, they've got a 5-page thesis, fucking PowerPoint presentation. They're yelling at you about bodegas. They always have Timbs on. So there's a lot of stomping and yelling. But I think the thing that was the most interesting is people like, oh, it's such a diverse city and there's all these different groups of people. But I never see any, like living in most places, it's still a segregated city. So like I got there, so when I moved to LA, I was like, where the fuck are the black people? And when I moved to New York, I was like, where the fuck are the black people? Because every city does that. Like being in Atlanta, I was like, there's black people as far as I always know where we are. But when I'm in most places in the South, I see us everywhere. And then as soon as I cross the Mason-Dixon line, I'm like, okay, where the fuck did they put us?
Now, I gotta ask you a question.
I just need to know where we at.
Dulce, I have to ask you a question. When people get upset with you about going on about New York,
Right.
do you kind of enjoy it a little bit?
No, I don't give a fuck. Go away. Sit
Oh.
down. Like this girl came up to me after a show, and like I could tell she was obviously in art school because like her clothes were ill-fitting and her hair was dry, and
Yuck.
like very like I moved from the Midwest and now I'm in New York, and that's her whole identity as a person. So she came up to me and she's like, "You don't like New York?" And I was like, oh, "Yes, little girl, I don't like this place." And she's like, "You don't like New York? I don't like the South." I said, "I'm gonna stop you." I said, "I don't like one city. You can't say you don't like 13 states. What the fuck are you talking about?" But she just had to have a thing to say. And she was like, "Well, and I was like, "Oh, girl, I don't care."
But here's
And
the
then I
thing.
walked the fuck out because I don't have to engage. The thing is, I don't.
But I think you
care.
enjoy this. I do. And I think that this is a thing that I observe about comedians.
The contrarian thing.
There
No,
is,
it's-
yes.
The comedians being contrarian or being into conspiracies, or being into gossip, it's all the same shit.
Okay, but can I answer the question that was asked to me?
No.
I don't like I don't like it because it's the reaction is I'm reacting to somebody who feels like that I attacked them personally. So if I was just saying I didn't like a place, because I've had people from New York come up to me and go, okay, I don't like it, but they looked around first to make sure nobody could hear them. So I don't like the reaction to it because it's someone coming up to me feeling like I attacked them. And then so now I have to react to someone who's in a place of hurt. When opposed to you could have just taken it as a fucking joke and let me enjoy my evening. That's the difference.
I mean, here.
That might be, by the way, the title of this panel. Take it as a fucking joke and let me enjoy my evening.
Yeah, but
I think that will be the title.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. First of all, I'm falling in love with you.
As you should.
But I do want you to, like, if I was in Atlanta and I gave shit about Atlanta, I would be fucking killed. So,
Depending
I think,
on where you went.
Well, here, first
Okay,
of
how
all,
about Uptown?
the whole Northeast.
Uptown,
Are you
I would go
familiar that the
Uptown.
Northeast is like, you know, like if you attack any city in the Northeast, they're gonna come at you hard. If
'Cause
you
they're
attack
cold.
Texas, they're gonna freak out on you too. It's
They
like
might,
that's a
or they'll
reality.
give you
but
barbecue
like
and then
the
shoot
way
you.
that you're attacking someone, it's like that's what people love about it, and it is also an unpopular opinion to go after it, especially when most New Yorkers shit on LA and stuff like that. So I appreciate it, but like, I think it's a little bit like, well, of course, New Yorkers have, like, people in the Bronx have an amazing amount of pride, and if you've been to the Bronx, you're like, I don't know what you guys are proud of, but
Aren't you from
because
Queens?
they, do you know what I mean?
My
It's
father's
like,
from the Bronx.
It's like
My
people,
father's from the Bronx, too.
people
My
have
father's
like
from
incredible,
Oklahoma. So what are we doing now?
But I think we can all agree that we all love Austin.
yes.
I'm so pandering. I'm going to just do that. I'm going to do
Nothing
that.
like
Wait a minute, wait a
gentrifying
minute.
whites with barbecue.
I mean, have you ever been to Cleveland?
Ugh.
I was
shit.
there
Their
for
beach has a
24
sidewalk.
Wait, what is this?
Cleveland.
Cleveland.
I don't know why John has
It is the
gone to...
most awful place I've ever been in my life. I mean, the extraordinary thing is that people choose of their own free will to inhabit it.
Have
Why?
you? I hear Cleveland, and I raise you with Winnipeg. The Cleveland of Canada.
Oh, yes, that's very good.
Because
Okay.
it's going to Winnipeg is like using your passport to go to the Midwest. Blue
That's
room.
in Springfield, Missouri.
Springfield, Missouri, yo. They hit me up. They're like, the alarm starts going off. It's earthquake time or
Tornado?
Tornado.
Different
Tornado
geography.
I
siren.
get down there. I got bottles of water, and these people showed up with not even shoes on, in the middle of that nasty ass town. It was just, I thought I was gonna die with a bunch of hillbillies.
So you were in a shelter because the tornado sirens went off?
They made me get into a shelter.
Oh,
Yeah.
it must have been close.
Imagine that. You just having a regular ass day, and now you're in a shelter. And I start thinking right away, like, who would I fuck? Like, if this was it.
For pleasure or to repopulate the earth?
To repopulate Missouri.
Anyway, back to Cleveland. I said to the guy,
Well, we didn't
why
find
do you live here? And he said, well, I don't want to. I was trying to sell my condominium, and I can't. And I said, well, why? He said, we have a joke here in Cleveland. What's the difference between a Cleveland condominium and gonorrhea? And the answer is you can get rid of gonorrhea.
Wow. I mean, the only thing I know about Cleveland is Bone Thugs and Harmony. So that's all I have about Cleveland. But also, we
Carey.
were talking about getting bullied. I don't. Fun fact about me. I think I was bullied, but I also bullied. So, you know, I got the best of both worlds. You understand?
It was
Like
a
I-
draw.
No,
It
wait,
was
you
a draw.
bullied comedically or physically?
I would never break a nail. No, my mother taught me, she was like, you know, someone can say something to you. Like, people want to fight you when you say something. So it's like, you can either get upset or you could say something. Basically, like emotional scars never heal. So if you can get in someone's mind, you can fuck them forever. Because you're going to remember what I said. So I don't have to fight you. I could just remind you your dad's never coming back. And you'll think about that till you hit the dirt.
That's good. That's good.
I need to hit you, just fuck you in your mind.
Jim, are you still in love with her?
Absolutely.
So, Ricky, did you get bullied? Because I'm sensing a theme here.
I got bullied for how beautiful I was.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. I had that
Makes
problem.
sense.
Yeah.
Makes
yeah.
sense, makes sense.
It's a real rock for
No,
your back, isn't it?
Gorgeous man.
No, I grew up in Queens. It's the most diverse borough in New York City. I had Filipino neighbors, Pakistanis, Italians across the street. So, like, everybody, like, kind of got along. I didn't really understand racism for a long time in a weird way.
Well, that's how I grew up. It was a very, like, my high school, my freshman year was in U.S. Day to Day as the most diverse high school in the country. And this is a suburb of Atlanta. I was in Norcross, Georgia. But even though it was the most diverse school in the country, the school was still like 45% white. And then by the time I graduated, like by the time I got to senior year, it was 25% black, 25% white. So like everybody was just even. So there was a lot of, but once we got out of school, it was like, oh, this can't stop, won't stop. But it's like if you live in a place where it's not homogenous, you get to interact with
than other people.
Well, but you also interact with a lot of different types of humor. Because, like, I grew up, like, all my neighbors growing up I lived in a Latino neighborhood, predominantly Mexican. So we would watch a lot of, like, the Spanish TV shows, Telemundo, because our neighbors watched it. And, like, some of those shows made absolutely no fucking sense. And I speak Spanish. And I'm like, why are there adults in the classroom? Why is he dressed like a bee? What the fuck's going on in here? And then watching Sábado Gigante, and I'm like, okay, so none of the women have clothes on. So, but you would see different types of humor, and like, but one thing I did notice about just people of color of any general background, we always busted balls.
Right.
Yeah.
But we always knew where the line was. When I would hear like my white friends, there was no fucking line. So like that's when I watch roast battles and stuff. A lot of times I'm like, yo, punch him in the mouth. Like bringing up people's dead parents and all that other. That's not a type of comedy that we engage, because there was always the things it was understood. Mm-hmm. You didn't talk about, this person in your family's on drugs. This person went through this. There was just certain shit you didn't talk about. So that was the difference that I got to see growing up in different types of humor. Was like some of us had a line and some people did not.
Well,
So
it also comes back to the idea of like we can't punch each other in the face. Like that's what would just happen. If you went too far, you get punched in the face.
Right, you would know. Like it was just understood. Like if you say,
But now everybody like sues.
Right.
My accountant made me open like this thing, so if I punched anybody, like the business wouldn't be sued.
That's really the basis of American culture, isn't it?
Fighting or suing somebody?
Spoken,
just
by the way, like a man who was en route to becoming an attorney before he went into comedy.
Yes, I was going to be a lawyer, but I escaped.
You were going to be a barrister?
No, I wasn't the upper.
Were you gonna
upper
wear
middle-
like the white hair in Britain?
Yeah,
like
the
the
whole
Oh, the
wig and
wigs,
shit?
yeah, but I wouldn't have done that because that was for upper middle class people, you see, because I was appallingly oppressed as a lower middle class person. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, class is a big thing over there because, you only got white people to terrorize.
Well, we used to have,
Well, now y'all got some more in,
before
y'all.
the riots. Yeah.
Before, yeah.
Class really did inform a lot of your early work, though.
What?
Class.
Oh, class. The British were absolutely obsessed with class. But do you see what everyone says? Oh, well, America's not a classless society. But you have money. In my day, when I was younger, people didn't talk about money because it was regarded as very vulgar to talk about money. It was sort of, no, you don't boast about how much money you've got. That really is just about an awful thing you could do. The worst.
You just show
folklore.
them by
Do you
having
have any
servants.
NFTs?
I'm exploring the market, and I'm looking for suitable partners.
Don't worry, you'll leave Austin with one.
You can feel the Bitcoin in the room as well.
Everybody that sells.
It was everything in England. All the comedies were about class, people trying to move up a class. I mean that quite seriously. Whereas here, you have the most extraordinary attitude towards money. I mean, I once talked to an audience, and I was saying, I think it is possible to have enough money, and people looked bewildered. You know, it's like rain in Los Angeles. What is he talking about? You know, have enough money. And I said to them, well, look, if you were staying with a friend's house and you knew he liked chocolate and you went to the fridge and there were 8 bars of chocolate in the fridge, you say, yeah, that's okay, he likes chocolate. But if he then took you outside and you say, see these 16 warehouses, they are filled from the floor to the roof with chocolate, you'd think, we're taking this a little bit too far. But that's what you have in America now. With the money, you have these absurdly rich people who don't want to pay tax. What the fuck is that about?
I don't think he's not understanding. You're not understanding. Strippers don't dance for chocolate.
That's the name
I've
of this
tried it.
panel.
Strippers don't dance for chocolate?
That's the name of this panel.
Okay, until we declare the next name of the panel.
Yes.
Strippers don't dance for chocolate.
Strippers don't dance for chocolate. Oh! That's why they gave me the green card.
I know one who dances for New
That was
Dog.
very chivalrous of you, Ricky. I think he deserves
It's
a round of applause
Cleese. I'm
for
not
that.
going to let Cleese not speak. No, you want it back?
Having a green one. You
Hold it from the bottom.
green one.
I like your watch.
See? Respect.
So now, were each of you comedy fans before you went into comedy?
Yeah.
Yeah. Ricky, talk about like what comedy you watched that like outside of your environmental influences.
So
that,
me and my brother used to go home alone at the end of the day, and it would just be us in the house, and my brother would turn on Comedy Central, and we would watch all the half hours. Like, I remember watching yours. I remember watching, and we would watch half hours up until The Daily Show, Jon Stewart came on. And then our parents would come home, and they used to feel the top of the TV, and they'd go, "It's hot!" You guys were watching television. It's hot. And I was like, no, all right.
So who like spoke to you where you started to get that idea of like maybe that's a thing I could do?
I didn't go see a show. I didn't do anything. The only thing I really did was I wrote a lot of letters to comics that I like, and only one of them wrote me back, and he's my homie now, Aziz Ansari. And he just told me what I should be doing and how I should be moving.
Who didn't write you back?
Jim Gaffigan.
Emailed me.
He did actually. You just couldn't read his handwriting.
It was just a lot of pictures.
Fucking American school system.
Pictures of food.
So yeah, I had that, and then all through my career, I had people like that. I was never one of the people afraid to ask a question. I asked people if I can open for them. I asked people for advice. I asked people with a lot of my moves.
So now I know each of you has a very different process. Like you and Dulce both went to performing arts schools, right?
Yeah.
So you guys identify.
I got kicked out of the program. So
You did?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you.
I did not.
I am dyslexic, so I actually was failing all my English courses. So in my last year, they took me out of the theater program and put me in more English classes. So I never got to graduate with the arts endorsed diploma. But at the same time, I'm the only one doing anything, so fuck them.
I just thought you were going to tell us you would be acting backwards.
Oh, and Kevin Spacey spoke at my graduation. That's a true story.
Wow.
I thought. Wait. I thought Jerry Seinfeld.
Yeah.
I thought Jerry Seinfeld.
No,
spoke
Frank Sinatra School of the Arts and Seinfeld spoke at our first one. It was dope
okay.
as shit. They had cool people. They fucked up with Kevin.
Who would have known?
By the way, why is the Frank Sinatra School in Queens and not in Hoboken, New
Because
Jersey?
that's where Tony Bennett was born and raised. And
So then why is it at the Tony Bennett?
He opened the school, the theaters after him. He opened it for his friend. He's a good guy.
Okay.
He married my U.S. history teacher.
Tony Bennett did?
Yeah, he's a player, dude.
Damn.
Will you call me dude?
Was it during class?
Just quietly, just call me dude.
All right.
made it sound like it was in the middle of class.
He was going to call
Tony
me
Bennett
dude.
came in and he proposed.
No, but I didn't know it was happening, and then like she was like at the Grammys.
I'm out of here.
She was just at the Grammys and not in class the next day. was
I
like,
love that.
oh.
What a success story.
So it's
Fuck these
cool.
kids. I'm going to the Grammys.
She went from a U.S. history teacher to a principal very fast.
So, but both of you have said that you write more on stage as opposed to like sitting and like having more of a formal writing process. Can you
Yeah.
just talk a little bit about that?
I think that comes from a lot of where I found my funny. Like all my friends that I find very funny, it's all just talking shit.
Right.
So that's where I find most of it, and that's what I kind of do with my fans.
I mean, I've always been confused because I have, been doing theater all through school. I sang all through school, and then I've got a theater degree from a college. But fun fact, my professor doesn't like to acknowledge that I was in the theater program, and I'm the most successful fucking graduate of that theater program. Which I think is, so it's the same shit where it's just like, oh, she didn't go here. And I'm like, bitch, didn't I? But, so for me, like when I started doing stand-up, I was hanging out at a comedy club because one of my friends was working the door. And so I was in between like doing plays in Atlanta, and I would just go and hang out with her, and I met comics there. And one of the comics like pushed me for 2 years to take his comedy class. But just from talking to him and just growing up with people that were funny and, just telling stories with family and stuff like that, he was like, you know how to tell a joke. You just need to start doing stand-up. And I was like, no. And for 2 years he was at me, and then he put me in his stand-up class. And at the time I couldn't afford it because I was on unemployment. And I was like, I don't have $300 for this class. And then he was like, you're supposed to be doing this. You don't have to pay for the class. So I took a free stand-up class, and I'm the most famous graduate from the stand-up class. But, which is not
I hope
very-
they claim you.
I mean, Big Kenny definitely does. But, so for me, shut up, Ricky. For me, it makes more sense, and I said all of that to say it makes more sense to me to put a joke on stage as quickly as possible. Because I know a lot of comics will write, and then the joke gets on stage and it doesn't work. But you just spent 2 weeks working on this fucking joke, when I'll think of something and I'll go over it a few times and I'm like, all right, I'm doing a show that night, fuck it, let's try it. Because the whole point is to get it in front of an audience. So I'm just trying to get it in front of an audience as quickly as possible.
Now, is it an idea, or do you have like words that you know are the funny words, or you just go, look, I just think this is a funny idea, and then you find the words standing in front of an audience?
I mean, sometimes I'm building a plane in the sky. A lot of times it's like, fuck, I need a wing, I need a propeller. But I always end up landing a plane. It might not be complete, but if I can get the basis of it, and I'm like, okay, I know what the premise is, I know what the setup is, I know what the punchline is. If I have these things and what other fillers I need or things I need to take out, but for me, it's I have to get this on stage as quickly as possible. Because if I have an idea for something and it doesn't work, I can just fucking scrap it, as opposed to spending all of this time trying to make something work that was never going to work in the first place.
So now, how different is that, and either one of you guys jump on this, how different is that from your processes?
Well, I would say, thinking of something like Monty Python, which is sketch comedy, it's very, very different. And the reason is, I noticed years ago when I first came to America that the English will laugh at a funny situation that's absurd. But Americans need a punchline. They need a wisecrack. They need a joke before they laugh. And there is a difference. So when we were writing for Python, we were always looking for ideas. We would get fundamentally an idea. A man goes into a cheese shop to buy cheese, only the cheese shop doesn't have any. You see, that's not a joke. You see what I mean? That's an idea.
May I share with you an observation? The interesting thing, because I've always thought that the beauty of the sketches, particularly your sketches with Python, were that the situations were wildly absurd, but you would always play them deadly
Absolutely
serious and
seriously,
often
yeah.
with rage. Pet Shop, Cheese Shop,
Yes.
Ministry of Silly Walks. All of these sketches are silly and outrageous, but you play them with such gravity and seriousness.
Well, they wouldn't be funny otherwise. You know, it's the fact that people are taking something so absurd, so seriously that's funny.
Well, I remember watching, because like we watch a lot of PBS because we didn't always have cable. And so I watched a lot of, on Saturday nights on PBS, they would play all the British comedies. So like as a kid, I was watching like Are You Being Served and Faulty Towers and Red Dwarf and all of these different shows. And so I remember watching Faulty Towers as a kid going, no, why does he keep kicking that man? Manuel's just trying to do the dishes. Like, why does he keep? But the woman who played your wife, she was I was like, this is the kind of wife I want to be. Because she takes no shit ever. But I remember so there were things that I remember watching the show going, okay, the falling down, we always get falling down being funny. But the older I got when I would watch the shows, I was like, okay, that's why the words sometimes didn't always matter. And I think that's what sometimes would get confusing
that's
for me.
right. Well, if
as
you
an
have
American.
a funny situation, you don't have to have lots of jokes. But if there's a lot of people who start writing a half hour and they write a plot that's almost straight, there's nothing really very funny about it, then they have to put lots of jokes in because the actual scene, the idea behind the scene isn't funny. But if you can do, when Connie Booth, my first wife, and I were writing 40 Towers, we never wrote a line until we had the plot. The plot would take us 2.5 weeks. But then the dialogue would become very easily because the situations were funny. You didn't have to come up with jokes. Do you see what I mean?
Right, and it seems like it's with a lot of American TV, it's the other way around.
Yes,
where
a
the
lot
jokes
of it, well,
push
I think
the
people,
action.
yes, the Americans love the wisecrack. You know, the English don't laugh at wisecracks in the same way. And I remember sitting in a theater once with a play by Peter Nichols. It was a very good play. And after about 35 minutes, there was a line, and I thought, oops, that's a bit like a joke. In other words, it wasn't quite right for the tone. And an American sitting behind me said, that's the first funny line we've had. Do you see what I mean?
Right.
So I think that the people don't spend anything like long enough trying to get the funny situation worked out. And that's because the executives always want to see something straight away. You know, they commission something and then they say, how soon can you do it? Can we do it in 4 weeks? I say, well, yeah, I can do something completely predictable in 4 weeks. You see what I mean? But if I'm going to come up, so you agree, John?
Yeah.
But you know, they always want, the people with the money always want to know exactly what you're going to do. Why? They haven't a fucking idea what they're doing. They don't.
They're a
they
bunch of
can't
fucking
write,
nerds.
Right?
They're a bunch of nerds.
Yeah. They've never directed, they've never written, and they've never performed. But by some extraordinary mystical process, they understand comedy better than people who have.
Well, I will share with these guys a story. So the first time I actually got to meet, because we met virtually, I was working at a television company, and one of the executives with the company had a long history with John and said, would you like to develop a project with John Cleese? And I said, yes, please. The first time I got on the phone with John Cleese, he said, Mr. Pasternak, why do we need you for this process?
Hey.
I said,
Beat you to it. Works for me. I'll take it.
my reply was, Mr. Cleese, my job is to tell all of the American network executives that they do not need to tell John Cleese how to be funny. John Cleese then said, Mr. Pasternak, we will get along famously.
I got to tell you one story. I'd written a script with a fellow called Kirk DeMico, and we handed it into Disney, and they raved about it. They said, this is almost 75% of the way, and they gave us 6 notes, And we went away and we incorporated the notes and handed the script in, and we went on holiday, and they were looking for 2 more writers. So we went in to see it, and they said, well, you ignore the notes. And I said, well, I never saw any notes. And Kurt D'Amico said, well, I didn't show them to you because I knew you'd get annoyed. And I said, well, what do you want us to do? And Nina Jacobson, her name was, she gave me a list of things she wanted to do. And she said, well, could you do that? And I said, I don't think I can. And she said, what do you mean you can't? I said, well, I don't know how to make it worse. I say, I would be trying to make it better, and I don't think that's what you're looking for.
That's amazing.
So, Jim, what is your process? Because nobody is more exhaustive on any given topic in comedy than you. And I mean, you look at every subject from every possible angle. So how do you achieve that?
Well, thank you. I some of it is, I think, particularly with stand-up comedy, it is all self-assignment, but some of it is being on stage and kind of, sometimes you get hit by lightning, some stuff comes out of your mouth, but I would also say that at different stages, I've collaborated with my wife in coming up with, I remember waking her up or while she was breastfeeding, saying, well, come on, we got to come up with some more bacon jokes. And she was like, all right. So, but it
And how long have you and Jeannie been married?
18 years.
Wow.
So, thank you. We're getting divorced
18
tomorrow.
years.
No,
John, and that's to one woman.
What?
18 consecutive
I know.
years to one woman.
Well, dear I've been married for 42 years, if you add them all together.
Yeah. How many you do? How many you do?
How what?
How many times did you get married?
I got married 4 times.
That's dope.
I know. But on the other hand, these people who are married for 20 years, well, what the fuck do you say in the morning when you wake up? Oh, hello, you again?
that's why I'm on tour.
You must tell me all about yourself. Because
That's
I
why
forgot-
you tour the
forgotten it
country
all.
doing stand-up, my friend.
I
No,
look forward
but
to
it's
these
always
conversations.
shifting. You know what I mean? Like like when I hear people say like, "Oh, I only write on stage," or "I sit down and it's like it shifts every couple years, and it's also the assignment kind of shifts. Where I'll say, "All right, I want to tell a story. I want to say something. I want to tell a really embarrassing story, or I want to make something appealing to like like." Someone, I want to tell a story about kids, but make it appealing to people that don't have kids. So it's always shifting. And so what worked 10 years ago, I feel like that doesn't necessarily work. And I've also run out of food topics, so what am I going to do?
But like, for example, your last special, you had a huge hunk all about the pandemic.
Yeah.
Brilliant, brilliant stuff. I love the piece about, we were talking before, about comorbidities,
Yeah.
about that
Yeah.
being code for all the fat asses are going to die.
Yeah. I mean, that is...
By the way, I can't get a laugh quoting his material to him. If he does the bit, it's funnier, trust me.
Well, I think the pandemic is weird, and for me, I didn't think that people were going to want to hear about the pandemic. I thought right now people don't want to hear about it, but like before Omicron, I was like, when I was going back out on the road, I didn't have an expectation that I was going to have Corona material. I thought people were going to be sick of it, but as I started touring, I realized that we needed to kind of have this this group session of laughing about it. I mean, now...
Was it like a let's get this out of the way thing?
I think so. I think there was... I mean, it's so weird to say it now because now I think people are sick of it. But I think for a time there, we were sitting at home or, so we wanted to be in a group setting and we were interpreting, how we handled the pandemic and how silly some of our behavior was. So I think we needed to go through that.
Well, I mean, that's what, so like, because were you in New York for lockdown? Or you were?
I left.
I thought so.
The bottom of my building got looted, so I had to leave.
Oh, I didn't live in a place nice enough that would get looted. I just lived in a regular ass building. I didn't live like a Starbucks or a fitness center. I just lived in Queens. No, so I did lockdown in New York because my mother wouldn't let me come home, and she wouldn't. And so when they started loosening up stuff in June, that's when all the outdoor shows started. And we didn't know, all we knew was, okay, what I was doing before is not gonna work. So I just have to talk about, because the wild thing about it was like from June of like 2021 till from June of 2020 until about like last summer, there were no stakes. Nobody was getting ready for a special because they weren't taping specials. No one was getting ready for a late night set because they weren't taping late night. So you just got to go out and do stand up, and it didn't matter what the fuck you said, because you were in a park. Like, you're telling jokes. Like, there's comics telling jokes in front of a tree. I didn't do that because there were no bathrooms. It's literally why I didn't go. And then there were like comics doing like shows on the train. We were on rooftops till it got too cold. We were in front of comedy clubs that had like outdoor areas, but what we were doing was illegal. So they were like, okay, if the cops show up, you're saying what the specials are. And I'm like, well, what the fuck are the specials? I at least got to be prepared for this lie. So we were just out and we were just talking. So we were talking about like, you know, all of the protests that happened. And I was like, I didn't go to the protest because I would have been throwing Molotov cocktails all the fucking where, and I'd have got arrested. So it was the kind of a way for like comics to deal with it, but it was also like these people are like, I've been in my house for too long. I'm fucking scared, but I have to do something. And then we realized, oh, we do have to talk about this because we're all going through a collective traumatic thing. Because there were comics that tried to get up and be like, oh, I went on a date. Everyone's like, no, the fuck you didn't. All the restaurants are closed. Shut up. You didn't do anything.
But isn't it true, and I mean, I'm sure each of you has a perspective on this, that comedy has kind of always been a way that we process whatever we collectively are dealing with.
Yeah, I mean, but here's how, I mean, I've been doing, I remember after 9/11, 2 days after 9/11, I ran into Greg Giraldo in the subway, and we were going to do a show, and there were people that talked about it, and then there were people that didn't. Whereas in my experience with, as opposed to 9/11, coronavirus, because we couldn't get together as a community, people really had, and when you talk about the stakes being removed, like people were doing it for the right reasons and stuff like that. But with the coronavirus, there was, I mean, look, we all know there is a mental health problem that we're still digesting. Right. And so like there was, you know, comedians I think kind of have a touch for like, we have to talk some of this stuff through because we're mentally ill. You know what I mean? Well, you are really mentally ill. But like,
you know what? Where's your wife? I'm gonna fight her outside.
All right.
Because I know you would never hit a woman, but I'll fight your wife.
All right. But I think
she's taller than Jim.
Well, then let's go.
But I don't know. It's weird. So like, I think that it shifts, you know, and I think that, you know, after 9/11, there was, I mean, by the way, even after Trump was elected, I was touring, and I think people in the audience, whether they were left, right, in the middle, they didn't want to hear about Trump. People were like, we watch this in the news all the time. So there's certain things when an audience doesn't want to hear it, and comedians do have a touch for that. It's not just about hearing laughs. It's hearing silence. It's hearing the discomfort. I mean, some of it is you like to create discomfort so that you can create tension and release it. But right. Like, there is whereas the coronavirus, there was this, we got to talk this shit through because all we've been doing is listening to like Sanjay Gupta for 2 years. So we gotta like, you know, or we've been, you know, so we have to figure out where we land on.
Well, this gets me back to something, and this will really point to my favorite piece of work of John's is talking about the things that we're told we're not supposed to talk about. Life of Brian, which, by the way, was the movie that bonded my wife and I.
Bothered you?
Life of Brian was the movie that bonded my wife.
bonded. Oh,
Yes,
That,
yes, it is
that and sex.
Well,
mostly Life of Brian.
Children.
That's what led to the sex, Jim.
Oh,
I
this
love
is
the
just so
film, and then they
creative.
banged, dude.
No, truly, we talked about making a nativity scene with Terry Jones and the baby Brian, and you as the three wise men pushing Terry Jones into the cow shit in the manger. Like, we were going to make that as a nativity scene, and then, then we had sex.
Expenses.
Well, I love it if you can say things that people are not. I mean, I've just been adapting Life of Brian for the stage, not a musical, just for humor. And I thought to myself, I don't think we can go to the crucifixion at the end because it's very hard to stage. And also, everybody's seen it. 1978, a lot of people on crosses singing a happy song. That was quite new. It had not been done before, but now it's 44 years later or something. So I thought,
And that film was banned in some states in the United
yes.
States.
No,
What?
no.
Yeah, Strom Thurmond in South Carolina. He was the senator in
It was
South Carolina.
Strom-
My dear chap,
Thurmond.
it was banned in Norway. It was advertised in Sweden as the film that was so funny they had to ban it in Norway.
Mr.
But I'm doing it, working on it at the moment. I thought, well, what do we do instead of the crucifixion? And I think that Pontius Pilate should make an apology in the style of American politicians when they apologize about the fact that he crucified Christ. You see, so the last 5 minutes is a speech, which he says, if at any time I called any distress to anyone, and then says things like, let's face it, mistakes were made.
Brilliant.
I'm hoping the evangelist will burn the fucking theater down because then it will play for 20 years.
But here's the thing that I think is so brilliant is the movie is not about Jesus, and you all collectively, I don't know how you came to this conclusion, determined that what you were making fun of was not the Gospels or the story of Jesus, but people who misinterpreted or misunderstood the teachings, got it all wrong, and used it the wrong way.
That's right, but if you tease the, these people called prosperity Christianity, prosperity Christians.
Televangelists,
If
yes.
you're a really good person, then you you get rich. I mean, anything that is more utterly contradictory to everything that Christ taught. He didn't say, blessed are the rich. He said, blessed are the poor. He was not throwing the money lenders into the temple. And yet these people will take this teaching and turn it on its head.
So ironically, it is actually an unbelievably Christian movie.
Yes, it is. It's about his actual teaching.
And by the way,
But let me say this. The moment you attack people and say, you are not faithful to Christ's message, they immediately say you're attacking the church. Do you see what I mean? So they shelter behind what they should be, but aren't. So it's very, very difficult to shift these people, and they are literal-minded people, and that's links with comedy, I think, because I think people become literal-minded when they are anxious, and there's a problem now, you and I were talking about it, which is that people don't use irony as much as they used to, and I think that's a function of anxiety.
I think that's just the 90s telling us that anything we put air quotes around was ironic. I think we literally don't know what irony is anymore. It's like, unless it's Chandler saying something, being more something, we don't know what the fuck irony is anymore.
But if you don't understand irony, then you think the words mean exactly what the dictionary says. If you understand irony, you realize the words can mean the opposite of what the person actually said in words, right?
but I do think that comedy obviously has eras and generations, and it evolves and it changes. I do think that comedy has become more earnest, and I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, but I do think that the inability to understand irony is a bad thing.
Who's earnest?
Tell me, you say that it's that earnest comedy.
I totally agree with you. I think it is. There is. I'm sorry if I cut you off.
No, tell me what you mean by
well,
that,
like,
because
for
he's
example-
gonna explain it. He's gonna
Here's
ring,
the
I
whole
wanna know what he
thing.
means.
Here's the whole thing.
So I'm going to point to Ricky's special that is fabulous, and I feel that. I mean, you speak to this. Tell me if you think I'm wrong. I think you really speak from your heart in your comedy.
Well,
and
I tell stories. I tell stories about things that have happened to me and situations I've been in. So I don't know. Earnest, I don't know. But
maybe that's a pejorative, and I don't want to use the word earnest, but it feels.
No, I don't think it's necessarily. I'm going to cut you off too. No, here's
And I'm
the
gonna
thing.
cut you off.
It's
I don't know what you mean by that.
authenticity. That's what all the
Authenticity.
that's authenticity.
Thank you.
Is the important thing. But like I do think that like I mean I consider myself a 90s New York City club comedian. It's about funny. It's not about emotional manipulation. This is for me. There are different styles, and I love these people, and they do a different thing. It is about the jokes. It's about the point of view. It's about the clarity of that. I don't believe in censorship, but I also think that there is like, we live in this conversation we're all we're censoring ourselves because we're sitting next to a fucking legend. Do you know what I mean? It's like. And
I said everything I was gonna say. Ricky!
Do you know what I mean? I was pointing to Ricky.
Just keep
But
working hard.
It is
all right?
like so.
Just keep
Are
doing
they
what
gonna
you're
start
doing.
making out now?
I don't know about you guys, but if I can get these two to do a show together, would you watch it? The Ricky Velez and John Cleese show.
That's a great movie.
That is a buddy movie.
It's just prejudice. That is because he's sort of light brown. You're not really light.
So I'll tell you what happened. My mom was Irish. My dad was a Puerto Rican.
See?
That's a good mix.
Finish the joke,
But-
by the way. Finish the joke.
He's not Puerto
Oh,
Rican
you want
anymore?
this?
Do the joke.
I'll give you the new joke.
Go on.
I say I'm more Puerto Rican than Irish because I know who's gonna take me in jail.
I haven't heard that one.
Like
haven't heard
the
that one.
whites aren't taking Ricky Velez.
There's a great advantage.
I'm gonna walk in first day like, hola!
That's
never
it.
struck
Wait, do the joke about not being gay.
I'm Irish and Puerto Rican. I'm just happy I'm not gay because that's way too many parades to go to.
That is a great joke. That is a great joke.
Simple.
When do you ever see an English parade?
It's called colonization.
Yeah, like we invented colonization. Yeah.
But
Well,
you
know,
didn't
people
invent it.
go on about the British Empire. They forget that the empire was the basic political unit of organization for 6,000 years. The British didn't start it. That
We
was what
know,
happened.
but y'all did it so well.
What?
It's the reason I'm here.
Well, yes.
I'm not supposed to be here.
Yeah.
We shouldn't even have Puerto Ricans. Like this guy.
And we gave you free passage, too.
And this is why we locked up your phones.
That's the name of it.
Oh my God.
This is why we lock up your phone.
This is why we locked up the phone.
This is why we lock up your
By the
phones.
way.
That's what this is called. Or free
Holy
passage.
shit.
Mr. Cleese lives to see another day.
Because there's not another black person in here who would co-sign to what
Yeah,
I
but what-
said.
If you look at the
Although you're
world,
a Sigma, so maybe you'll help me. I don't know. It's a
world
white
history
Sigma, but
is a
sure.
history of crime. It's a history of people who were stronger beating up people who were weaker. And it's always been that. It's deeply, deeply distasteful. But to pretend that one lot were worse than another, you do know the British have been slaves twice, right?
Well, the Dutch are the problem.
The Dutch. Tell me
Okay,
about
there's the new title of the show. The Dutch are the
Dutch are
problem.
the problem. One, we
We
don't
have a
know.
third title for the show.
One, we don't. As Americans,
is,
we don't
uh,
know what
you-
country they come from. Because they're like, well, there's no Dutch. Holland? No, fuck them. We don't know. But no, the Dutch started the transatlantic. Huh? It's whites. I don't give a fuck. But yeah, the Dutch started
You
transatlantic
don't
slave
like the
trade.
Dutch because they're tall.
Why wouldn't I like a tall man?
This
Well,
is
I
good.
wanna
Why wouldn't you?
Cause like I mean I don't know if y'all ever cause I do have a bit about not liking little men. Cause when I hug a man, I want to hear his heartbeat, not his thoughts. So. Like some man's ear on mine? Ugh. Where is the rest of them? Who didn't finish cooking him? I want. This makes no sense.
John Cleese, tell your big girl joke.
I'm the average size for an
Listen, I'm
American
going to
woman.
get competitive about this business of being oppressed. We were oppressed, the English, by the Romans from about 0 to 400.
You really are going back. You're really going
The
back.
Italians
From
colonized us.
BC, he said from 0 AD.
This is getting so uncomfortable.
John,
We don't need this.
Can we
Listen.
discuss
John,
Dave
listen.
Chappelle's special or something?
Listen, I don't want to have a struggle competition.
I
with
want
somebody.
reparations from Italy.
By the way, Caesar committed genocide.
Yes, absolutely.
Caesar.
And then the Normans came over in 1066.
What about-
Who's
that? We were
Norman?
slavers again. No, not Norman. The Normans. They were horrible people from France. And they came
John,
and colonized
John,
us for 30 years.
I haven't even-
Reparations there too, I'm afraid.
I haven't even played the Jew card yet, okay?
What?
I haven't even played the Jew card yet.
Roast them.
You can't.
Do you mean that literally? Do you mean that literally?
And this is why your phones are locked up.
That was the
That's
Irish
the title of
side.
the show.
Told you.
The title of the show is
I
This Is
told
Why
you.
Your Phones Are
I
Locked Up.
Told you.
am knee deep in Jews. I have 2 Jewish grandchildren.
That's because we're traditionally not a tall people.
But I love y'all so much.
By the way, Jim has, you would think that
Said
Jim.
nothing.
Wait. Jim, who
I
usually.
look most like a Nazi, so go on. Jim!
Donka.
But you have a bit where you go through all the different religions, and you have my favorite line about the Jews when you go through, like, enumerating all the different
How
religions.
dare
I don't know what you're talking about.
Come on.
Good job.
I can't remember. What is
Good
it?
job.
When you said Judaism is perfect and I would like more roles
Oh,
in
yeah.
feature films.
Oh, yeah.
Good boy. Good boy. I love the Jews. I'm trying to fuck one. Nothing.
But the,
What?
what?
Why the Jews have sloping foreheads?
No. No! Next question.
And now you save the colonizer.
I saved a comic whose career I respect. That's what the fuck I did. I know I gave you the green one, Bubba. There you go.
Sloping
All right.
foreheads,
This motherfucker!
short necks. You know
Where's
why?
my phone? Fuck this shit. Going down, Cleese.
I thought this was going to be boring.
But you know what?
So did I!
By the way, oh,
I did too, Ricky. I
why
definitely
are the
did too.
bravest people never the ones that tell you that they're brave? You know, like you're like saying some shit here that like people would like. It seems like a lot of people are like, I'm so brave, I'm so brave. They never say some of this shit.
Well, the thing is, I'm going to be dead soon. You see?
Yeah.
That's
YOLO.
the title of John's show tomorrow.
That's why I'm in favor of global warming.
Also,
I
you
don't want to be cold ever again. It's the only thing on
Where
my...
you're going, you won't be.
Wow! Wow!
Toasted Cleese, eh?
Now, why do we have sloping foreheads, John?
You motherfucker!
Right when we get out of the hole, we go back.
Hate comics. The
Well,
only
if you
reason.
get old, you really don't give a fuck, you know. And that's very nice, because as I say, I'll be dead soon. And, you know, roll on, global, what is it called? Global
What?
warming, climate change.
Global climate change, global warming.
Roll on, and you know, I don't even have to know what happens in Ukraine. I'm out of here. Takes a lot of responsibility off your shoulder. You know?
So before you go,
Are you talking about him passing away or like the show's over?
dealer's choice. Before you go, John,
Before I go.
what would you like to see comedy continue to be? Because I know you voiced a lot of concern about it as a form, and I know you care about it deeply.
I do, and I think, I'll tell you why. This is a serious story, but it's kind of interesting. I was at the Sarajevo Film Festival in Bosnia. This is some years ago. And they were telling about the period when, for 4 years, the Serbs were up in the hill, lobbing shells down onto Sarajevo in the valley below, and with people with telescopic sights shooting people crossing the street, this kind of thing. And they told me that they got an underground garage and turned it into a cinema, and they used to go, when it was dark and safe to cross the road, they used to go in there and watch comedy. They watched quite a lot of Monty Python, but they watched all sorts of comedy. And this is what struck me so strongly. They said, when we came out, we felt better.
Wow.
Now, nothing had changed, but they laughed, so they felt better. It's a way of getting through. And I suddenly realized that comedy's got much more purpose than I ever realized when I was young. It's not just having a good time. It actually helps us to get through this veil of tears, as it is sometimes.
Well, I don't know that we're going to end on anything better, but I will say
Oh,
this.
good. I'm off.
God damn it. I want to say on behalf of
Can I
all
go?
of us here and all of them that you have definitely made all of our lives better. And again, I feel like a Make-A-Wish kid up here getting to be able to do this with you. But on behalf of everybody, John, I really just wanted to
what
say
is
thank
it
you.
now? What?
The best part is he didn't listen to any of that.
Not a word.
No, he was giving me air kisses.
Yeah, not a word. But I will say that all four of these comics, to me, are exceptional practitioners of the form. And I believe
All four?
all four. I'm watching this show. Make the show, I'm watching this show. I'm barely going to get out of here alive. Please, guys, can you help me thank Ricky Velez, Dulce Sloan, Jim Gaffigan, and the immortal Mr. John Cleese. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you for coming.